Right, good morning, everybody. I'm honoured to be joined today by our local MP for Stamford and Grantham. It's Gareth Davies. Gareth, thank you for sharing some time out of your very busy day today with me.
Real pleasure to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Well, first of all, before we get into a little bit more about our local area, if you wouldn't mind, just give people who aren't familiar with you, and I'm sure most people are, just a bit of background on you and how you got into politics.
Well, thank you. Yes, I am. I think I can still consider myself relatively new. I got elected in December 2019 in the general election that just passed, and it's been a bit of a whirlwind. But before we go on to that, I come from a background, a bit of an unusual background in that I'm a politician with a profession. So I spent about 13 years working in the asset management industry, advising, looking after pension fund assets for a variety of different clients in the United Kingdom, but was very lucky to travel the world and deal with Asian clients, United States I lived in for a period of time. So have a real perspective on British business, UK PLC, the role that we play in the world and the influence that we have through business, but also very conscious that I grew up in a house which had a mum. My mum was a state primary school teacher and my dad was a small business owner. And that's really driven me to want to go into politics to try and help teachers who help me as a child, people like my mum who help children every day, and small businesses like my dad who I saw really start something from scratch. And well, don't we need it now during this crisis? And we can come on to that. But I really come to politics from a different kind of background, not political whatsoever, and I'm still trying to find my feet as a result of that.
So how's that transition been then, out of the sort of business environment and into this hot water that you've chosen the path to go into it? So how's that transition been?
It's been a whirlwind, to be honest. I think it's been mentioned before. You get elected, I think it was on the 13th of December, 16th of December, you're literally in Parliament in Westminster, being shown where to hang your coat, and you're just trying to find the way around the place. Meanwhile, you have no equipment, no team, no office, and you've got 80,000 customers who are calling you almost from day one. So it is a bit like drinking from a fire hose, but it's a wonderful feeling to walk around Parliament, the mother of parliaments in the world, and realise all the history that went before you, and realise you're just a blip in time, and you've just got to do the best you can while you're in office. But it's been great, honestly. It's been about nearly 6 months now, just coming up to 5 months. The 6 month point, it's a time to sort of reflect on how things are going, and who could have predicted this coronavirus crisis? I was just getting settled into the role, and all of a sudden the thing gets shaken up and we've been inundated, but doing the best we can.
So how have you had to adapt your day? Because clearly you're not in your constituency office, you're not going up to London to Parliament. How have you changed what you're doing and with your team? Because obviously we're all doing the same, we're all having to learn new skills and adapt the way we work. How's it affected you?
The main thing that we were very conscious of right from the start was that lots of people have a lot of questions, understandably. A lot of people have a lot of concerns and issues, and so we've literally been inundated. Every MP is the same. The numbers the other day, we've had almost 270% increase in correspondence in the last few weeks alone. Literally thousands of pieces of correspondence, and we've been all hands to the deck. Our little team have all been full time on trying to get back to people as quickly as we can, triaging the inbox to make sure that those who are in most need, in most immediate need, get seen first, and that we can try and get them answers. We can intervene in cases with employers, for example. We can deal with the council if there's issues with housing. There's a variety of different issues, but the main thing is to try and prioritise those in most immediate need, and there are a significant amount, or have been. And then secondary to that is to try and act as a sort of post box to try and get people the answers that they need, that can be found online or through various helplines that have been set up. But very conscious that this is the only show in town right now, and we're very much prioritising coronavirus over anything else. And then within that, those, as I say, in mode.
So, I mean, we're very blessed, aren't we, locally, to be living in such a beautiful area, and you know, we're lucky that we haven't had, thankfully, very many cases locally of the coronavirus recorded. How do you think we've dealt with as an area with the steps in place that people have put in? How do you think we've dealt with everything?
Well, you're absolutely right, and I'll start by saying that, you know, I have, together with all the other Lincolnshire MPs, we have weekly calls now with all of the NHS leaders. In fact, I was just on a call with Andrew Morgan, who runs ULHT, which includes Grantham Hospital, which is my constituency, to talk about Grantham. And as well with the Chief Constable of Lincolnshire Police. So we have a good grasp and good relationship now with all the leaders of the public services. And I want to really thank everybody in Stamford and our surrounding villages and across the constituency who have really, you know, done a great job at following government guidance, you know, staying home when it's really tough. It's a really, really tough crisis, this. And, you know, our businesses have really suffered. Our economy is taking a real knock, but people have stayed resilient. And a number of amazing stories have come out of this, whether it's people putting Post-its on their bins to thank our bin men, whether it's giving a thumbs up to our posties who deliver our mail, or whether it's clapping on a Thursday night for our NHS staff. People have really come together. There's been a number of groups set up in Stamford, which has been wonderful to see, whether it's you know, the Second Helpings group, for example, or support our Stamford. There's a variety of different groups, as well as the national programme of NHS volunteers. We've had a number of people locally within Stamford who've signed up to that. So everyone's kind of played their part. Our community's stuck together, and I really think out of all the darkness, out of all the difficulty that this crisis has caused, it's shown us that, you know, we've all got to look out for each other, and that we're all got to stick together in tough times like this.
Yeah, I mean, Stamford's certainly got a wonderful independent vibe that runs all the way through it, and, you know, a lot of very unique shops and businesses that really make up the fabric of the town, you know, not just aesthetically with the beautiful architecture we've got, but as I say, that independent spirit and the fighting spirit that I think so many business owners have got, and that the visitors to the town and residents love and appreciate. And for me, you know, you can see so many really super stories of little acts of kindness that go right through from, you know, people just delivering a cake to a neighbour, or meeting their neighbour for the first time and knowing their name, to some really amazing stories. I don't know, you know, you've certainly mentioned Second Helpings there, but whether you've got anybody else in particular that, you know, any stories that you've heard that I thought, you know, wow, they've gone above and beyond what you think, you know, somebody would normally do in their job. If you've got anybody else you really want to talk about with me?
There are so many examples. I mean, I'm very lucky in that I get to see, you know, a variety of different kind acts, and people write into me and let me know what their neighbours are doing and flag people. And it would be unkind, given so many people are doing so much right now, to pinpoint. But I'll just give you one example of an organisation that is really making a difference, and that's Evergreen Care Trust. They were already in Stamford making a huge difference to tackling loneliness and making sure that certainly among our older population, that they are looked out for in difficult times. And they've been inundated with requests for volunteers. They've had a number of people put themselves forward to deliver food to what they call befriend some of the older you know, residents around Stamford, where they put in a phone call. And that's really heartening, because, you know, everybody is going through a difficult time. This is completely indiscriminate, and not everybody can volunteer all day long or all night long. They can maybe just do an hour here or there, and that's what Evergreen Care Trusts are allowing you to do. Just befriend somebody, give them a phone call once a week, whatever it is. And that's been really heartening to hear, not least because I have my own grandmother who is all on her own, shielding in Lancashire, and, you know, none of our family could go and see her. So that really strikes a chord with me, and I've been so impressed by our community all coming together and channeling their time and help in that way.
Yeah, and I really hope that that continues, and it's not just for this period of time. I'm sure there are values that people will carry on feeling and enjoying that feeling, because when you do a lovely gesture for somebody, it makes you feel really good as well, doesn't it? And I hope people learn from this and continue with these really, selfless acts. I think it would be, really lovely if that carries on once we're all, allowed to be out there again. But the government has introduced a number of small business schemes, and David and I, we're very grateful for the small business that grant that we got. It's enabled us to help get our business hopefully forward again. What are other local businesses saying to you, Gareth, about where they are at the moment?
Well, thank you for those comments. It is, I think everybody appreciates this is an amazingly difficult task for the government. A pandemic we've not seen in a generation, a crisis that is impacting businesses all over the country, not least in our constituency. So the £300 billion worth of business support that has been announced does cover the vast majority of businesses, and I'm pleased to have been in touch with many locally to help them get either a grant or point them in the right direction of a loan. But of course, there are some that fall through the cracks. Take self-employed. The government measures cover 95% of self-employed people, but of course there are some who are not covered by that, and they've really really had a hard time of it. And I've done what I can to feed in the issues on the ground that we're having in the constituency on behalf of businesses that started with an idea and worked really hard, and just because they've structured a business a certain way now means that they're not getting quite as much support as they would like. And so as a backbench MP, as a representative of our area, I'm trying to feed those messages in where the glitches are in the system, and then working with other MPs to feed those in as well. The national government have a daily conference call with the Cabinet Office where we can sit down and feed in these issues with the Minister of State for the Cabinet Office. Ministers have made themselves very available, as well as officials. But it's difficult. It is difficult to implement a scheme across the business spectrum for the whole country. But I'm doing what I can. But the vast majority of businesses, I think, have been supported, whether it is through furloughing, whether it's through the coronavirus business interruption loans, the bounce back loans, even just deferring VAT payments or HMRC self-assessment. There's a range of support available to businesses, and I'm really pleased that most of our businesses locally have been supported to get through the worst of this crisis.
Yeah, I was speaking to one local shopkeeper, and they were sort of mentioning the VAT payments, as being something that's really putting a lot of pressure on them right now. So I hope I'll follow up with them and check where they are. But I hope that they manage to get that sorted, because I think that's really key to the survival for this one particular person that I spoke to. But I think, Steve, many businesses will still be worried, and rightly so. We've got the kind of needing to stay alert kind of line going forward now, and we'll all be mindful of, I think, our behaviour. People will be hesitant of rushing straight out there anyway. So I think that will, I hope, still carry on for people. And yes, we've all got a desire to see our loved ones and our families and our friends and try and get some kind of life back. But I think people will be hesitant, and I hope we'll still, and I want to see it carry on in the community. I hope people still respect those guidelines we've all kind of, I suppose, got slightly used to now, and keep that going, because I say, as a community, we've done so well locally, and I'm really proud when I go in to have to go to the supermarket or whatever. I can't get it from my local shop, so I've been trying to use my little village store for everything. I'm really proud of the way I see people reacting and dealing, and I haven't seen people flouting the rules, and I think that's something that we should be all really proud of as a local community. So I think the stay alert message, I know people have kind of slightly been unkind about it in the press, but I hope that naturally carries on, and that's kind of a bit in our instinct now.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I reiterate how great everybody locally, the majority of people have been. in respecting the fact that we need to keep our social distance, that we need to adhere to government guidelines. And let's remember what this is about. This is about protecting the NHS, making sure that we save lives so that we can come out of this as quickly as possible. The more people adhere to the guidelines and the rules, the quicker we can tackle this crisis, which we all want to do, particularly any small business owner, for example, wants to see the economy get moving again. The only way that happens is if we maintain social distancing and adhere to government guidelines. But you're absolutely right. The vast majority of people in our community has done that. I thank them very much for doing that, and we should all be very grateful that that's the case in our local area.
Well, thank you very much for sharing some time today. I'm sure you're on a whole host of Zoom calls throughout the day, and I'm sure that some of them are far more pressing and important than mine, but I thank you for taking the time out to talk to us. As I say, we're looking forward to very much when we're allowed to continue and get our business going again. So we go into people's homes and show people around. So, we need to be sure that we're safe to do that and that we've got the right steps in place and that we can market our clients' homes to them properly. So we're preparing lots of new properties ready to go to the market and looking forward to doing that. I'm desperate to get out there again. And so hopefully people will be coming out of London and coming up to come and move up here. So hopefully.
Absolutely. No, great. And good luck to you and the business. And, a real pleasure to do this, to be able to speak to all your followers, and along the way that continue. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time, and we'll hopefully catch up with you when we can meet in person and it's safe for us all to do so. But thank you for your time in our local community. I know we all appreciate what you do for us.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Lottie.
Bye.
Bye.